Old Mrs. Horton had also pieced something together after catching their exchange. Granddaughter? In-law? The person you mentioned visiting today. Was that the younger sister of the Allen family? Kira had gone to see Rebecca after returning from the police music station and only came back once she'd confirmed the rehabilitation training was complete. She'd given old Mrs. Horton a brief explanation, and surprisingly, the old lady had remembered it. Looking at Mrs. Horton, Kara noticed her health hadn't declined lately. In fact, her music had seemed to have improved somewhat. She needed to develop that medicine quickly. Ideally, it would help the old lady recall the truth about her marriage to Louis. Louis, who had been listening to their conversation, lifted the corners of his mouth, a mocking glint flashing in his eyes. So Frankie had mistaken someone else for her? He suddenly spoke up. Miss Olson, the day after tomorrow, there's a celebration banquet for the Horton group and Allen family collaboration. I'm still short a female hair or music companion. Would you be interested? Kira didn't look up. No. Louis choked for a moment. His deep eyes flickered. Didn't Miss Olson say he music she wanted to introduce the two families? Only then did Kira raise her eyes to him, her amethyst gaze twinkling, and reluctantly her music agreed. All right. Old Mrs. Horton looked surprised. Her music. Are you actually willing to reconcile with the Allen family? You brat? Louis gave a vague response before shifting the subject. What did you have for lunch today? Rice, chicken soup, and celery. Tom, seated nearby, couldn't help but steal a glance at his boss. The boss had never shown the slightest intention of reconciling with the mother he'd never met. This time, he'd made a point of keeping everything strictly professional, and as a result, news of his disagreement with Frankie had spread. But in truth, throughout this collaboration, Frankie had extended goodwill multiple times, and the boss had never reciprocated, making it abundantly clear he wanted no relationship beyond business with them. So was his proposal simply to have Kira as his companion for the party. Tom wore a thoughtful expression. After dinner, Kira wanted to take her dog for a walk. She attached the leash to the puppy and headed out the door. Tom was going downstairs to retrieve some files, so he took the elevator down with her. Walking side by side, Tom suddenly smiled and asked, Kira, what kind of man do you like? Though Kira had a boyfriend eager to marry, as long as they weren't wed, the boss still had a chance. Tom had to help his boss find out. It would make it easier for him to steal her away from her boyfriend. At his question, Kira seemed momentarily startled. Having watched Poppy, love-struck and refusing to leave the Olsen family since childhood, she felt somewhat repulsed by the very ideas of love and marriage. That was precisely why she'd chosen to reject all the boys who pursued her. She was terrified that after falling in love, she'd lose herself. She'd never considered what her future partner might look like. But when Tom asked that question, Shamusic, Louis's handsome face, was the first thing that sprang to mind. Without thinking, she answered, handsome about 6', music F tall, 175, albeit with a deep, attractive voice. He also has to be thoughtful and especially good at scolding people. Chor Tom's eyes grew brighter with each word. She might as well have just said his boss's name. Did Kira and the boss have mutual feelings for each other? Noticing his expression, Kira suddenly realized what she'd said. Changing the subject, she hastily added, amiable, warm, good at telling jokes, and of course a kind man. Tom was dumbfounded. A warm, gentle man? That had nothing to do with his boss at all, right? Louis had always been known for his cold demeanor and gloomy expression. Seeing the shift in his face and music, Kira finally let out a quiet breath of relief, her cheeks faintly flushed. Annoyed by the puppy's slow pace, she bent down, scooped it up, and quickly descended the stairs. Tom sighed, feeling that Louis had no hope. He turned to head back to the ward, but froze when he spotted Louis standing behind him. The corridor lights were somewhat dim, casting half of the man's face in shadow, making him look rather solitary. Clearly, he'd overheard the entire conversation between Tom and Kira. Tom cleared his throat and innocently scratched his head. "Well, boss, you could try smiling more at Kira." "You talk too much," Louis scolded as he brushed past Tom, descending the stairs quickly. Outside, it was already dark. Under the streetlight, Kira was crouched down stroking the dog. Her head was bent, her gaze fixed on the puppy. Her usual sharpness had vanished, replaced by a touch of tenderness. Louis slowly approached her. Feeling his shadow fall over her, she looked up. The moment her eyes met his, Louis moved the corner of his mouth, raising what he believed to be a gentle smile. But Kira stood up and regarded him warily. "Mr. Horton, is your mouth twitching?" Louis was speechless. Slowly withdrawing his smile, he noticed her visibly relieved expression. He felt rather embarrassed. Music taking a deep breath, he said, "Grandma asked me to accompany you on the walk." "Okay." The clumsy puppy ran toward the park with the two of them following closely behind. A cold wind blew shorty music. George and Kira shivered. The temperature had dropped sharply that day, and she hadn't been prepared for it. Just as she was rubbing her arms and thinking about heading back inside, a large warm coat was suddenly draped over her shoulders. Kira stiffened. She slowly turned her head to see Louis standing there, music, Chort wearing only his shirt. His gaze was fixed elsewhere, looking somewhat awkward. Kira smiled. "Thanks. Chort some music. Chort, you're welcome," Louis said indifferently. "I'm mainly afraid that if you catch a cold, music, you'll infect Grandma." Kira couldn't help but let out a quiet laugh. She thought this man was really tough. Just as they stood there in awkward silence, a voice suddenly cut through. "Mr. Horton." When Kira turned her head, she saw Frankie standing in the park, his expression darkening at the sight of her. Kira was bewildered. Music, Louis stepped forward, positioning himself in front of Kira. "What's the music matter? Can we talk in private?" Frankie took another long look at Kira and walked to the side. He didn't look pleased. Just after returning to the ward, he'd learned that his sister was deeply troubled by the fact that the first person she'd asked for help had coldly told her that an infatuated music woman deserved to die. Even during the surgery, his sister had lost the will to live because of those words. He was furious. When Louis came over, Frankie asked with a frown, "What's your relationship with Kira?" Louis replied coldly, "Mr. Allen, that's none of your concern." Frankie took a deep breath. "Anyway, you're my aunt's son. Seeing that you and her seem to be more than casual acquaintances, I felt I should warn you to keep your eyes open. This woman music is not a good person. There's no connection between our two families, Mr. Allen. You needn't worry about me." Louis's tone had grown even colder as he said, word by word, "Moreover, I think the one who should keep their eyes open is you." Frankie paused. "What do you mean?" "See that button on your screen? That's your full story. Try music, tap it, and download the Pocket FM app now for free."